हेलो एवरीवन। कैसे हैं आप लोग? आई होप आप लोग का क्वारंटाइन पीरियड सही से बीत रहा होगा। सो एज आई promised in the last video that in the next video I'll be covering exclusive economic zone and continental shelf. In this video of the law of the seas, we will be covering those two topics. So before starting those two topics, let revise the uh, few basic concepts which we had discussed in the last video. The first one is of territorial sea and the second one of contiguous zone. So remember, the territorial sea is that part of ocean which is considered the territory of the adjacent country, adjacent coastal country, and all the laws of that adjacent coastal country is applicable in the territorial sea. The length of territorial sea is 12 nautical miles from the baseline. I hope you remember how we calculate the baseline. There were two types of baseline, the normal baseline and the state baseline. Now, from baseline after the territorial sea, the next 12 nautical miles from the baseline is contiguous zone. And in this contiguous zone, certain specific laws of the adjacent coastal country is applicable. Those laws are custom laws, fiscal laws, immigration laws, and sanitary laws. All right. Now let's start about the discussion about the exclusive economic zone. Exclusive economic zone is comparatively of a recent origin. This concept is of recent origin. Uh, the initiator, the this concept was initiated by Kenya in 1972. So it is also known as patrimonial sea. I hope you have a copy and pen and you are writing down few major points. This is also known as patrimonial sea. Patrimonial sea means that this zone of the ocean, the exclusive economic zone, is somehow acting as a father for that nation, who is providing food and necessary facilities to the adjacent coastal country. Therefore, people also call it as a patrimonial sea. Now, exclusive economic zone is as far as the UNICLOS definition is concerned, exclusive economic zone is a sea zone prescribed by the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Seas, over which a coastal state has sovereign rights to explore and exploit and conserve and manage its natural resources. So, the adjacent coastal state has sovereign rights to explore, exploit, conserve, and manage its natural resources. All right, in mind it, this natural resources include living organisms. Now, breadth of exclusive economic zone shall not exceed 1200 nautical miles from the baseline, from which the breadth of the territorial sea is measured. So, the exclusive economic zone is 200 nautical miles from the baseline of the from which the territorial sea has been measured. See, if this is the baseline, then from baseline till 200 nautical miles, this zone is exclusive economic zone and the state has exclusive right to exploit its natural resources. This state, for example, if this is India, then sorry, for example, if this is India, then from 200 till 200 nautical miles, India has exclusive right to exploit the natural resources. Now, rights, jurisdiction, and duties of the coastal state in the exclusive economic zone. So, what rights does the state enjoy in this exclusive economic zone? There are specifically six headings under which we can study it. The first we have already discussed, the exploration, utilization, and management of the natural resources, the water, the seabed, and the soil underneath the seabed. Second is production of energy. Third is utilization of man-made islands, installations, and structures. Fourth is scientific research. The fifth is protection of environment, and the sixth is the sum total of every right which UN Convention will provide in future. So just have a look at India's exclusive economic zone. So on the combining the eastern coast and the western coast and the area around the Andaman Nicobar Island, India, the total area of India's exclusive economic zone is 20 lakh 13,410 10 square kilometers. So India has exclusive right to exploit the natural resources of this area. No other country can claim any right to exploit any natural resource present in this area. India can alone take oil from this area. India can alone exploit, do fisheries in this area, and all other raw. India has the exclusive for all other natural resources. India has the exclusive right. Now the next topic which we have to discuss, continental shelf. See, this topic is one of the most complicated topic of this chapter. So be alert. The continental shelf of a coastal state comprises the seabed and the subsoil of the submarine areas that extend beyond its territorial sea throughout the natural prolongation of its land territory to the outer edge of the continental margin, or to a distance of 200 nautical miles from the baselines from which the breadth of the territorial sea is measured, where the outer edge of the continental margin does not extend up to that distance. All right. So there are, see, the continental, first we have to understand what is continental shelf. See, this is continental shelf. The land below the ocean is known as continental shelf. Now, how to measure it? There are two main ways which are given how to measure it. The first is the normal method, that is 200 nautical miles from the baseline. All right. The next is a bit difficult method. In case the natural prolongation of this land is beyond 200 nautical miles, then the continental shelf will be counted till 350 nautical miles. Then this area will be 350 nautical miles. And in no case, continental shelf can go beyond 350 nautical miles. All right. So in normal condition, it will be till 200 nautical miles. But if the land of the country, if the land under sea is the natural prolongation is beyond 200 nautical miles, then in that case, in a special circumstance, it will be 350 nautical miles. Now, again, the same thing. The state's continental shelf may exceed 200 nautical miles until the natural prolongation ends. However, it may never exceed 350 nautical miles from the baseline, or it may never exceed 100 nautical miles beyond the 2500 meter isobar. So, one more condition comes over here, that these two conditions we have studied, that is 200 nautical miles, or in case the natural prolongation is beyond 200 nautical miles, then up till 350 nautical miles. Now, one more condition is 200 nautical miles from 5000 meter isobar. This meter isobar is the depth of the sea. In case the depth of the sea along the coastline is more than around is beyond 250 meter isobar, then continental shelf will only be 100 nautical miles after 200 from 205,000 to 2500 meter isobar. So this is a third way how it can be measured, that is 100 nautical miles from 2500 meter isobath. Now we should see what, see this one I was talking about. If this 200 nautical mile is the natural, is the normal method, 350 nautical miles in case the land has natural prolongation beyond 200 nautical miles, and in maximum case 205,000 meter 205,000 meter isobath plus 100 nautical miles. If this is 2500 meter isobath, this depth is 2500 meter isobath. So in third condition, the maximum distance can be 100 nautical miles from this depth. Okay, 100 nautical miles from this depth. So there are three methods: 200 nautical miles, 200 nautical miles, 350 nautical miles in case of natural prolongation, and if the natural prolongation goes beyond this, then 100 nautical miles from this depth, 2500 meter isobath. Now, rights of states over continental shelf. The coastal state exercises over the continental shelf sovereign rights for the purpose of exploring it, exploiting its natural resources. So for exploring and exploiting the natural resources in this land, the coastal state has exclusive right. In this land, coastal states has exclusive right to exploit its resources and to explore it. Explore it means to take oil from it or to take any natural resources from this land. If the coastal state does not explore the continental shelf or exploit its natural resources, no one may undertake these activities without the express consent of the coastal state. Then, for example, if this area has oil in it, but the coastal state does not want to take out oil from this area, then no other country can take out oil from this area without the express consent of this coastal state. The third is natural resources consist of mineral and other non-living resources of the seabed and subsoil together with living organism. So coastal state also have the right or exclusive right to exploit the minerals and non-living resources of the seabed and subsoil together with living organisms. Even the living organisms, that is sedentary species which are residing on the seabed, if some living organism it is residing on the seabed, these are called sedentary species like coral reefs. The exclusive right of exploiting this sedentary organism is also with the coastal state, is also with the coastal adjacent coastal state. All right, so we have done with the rights of coastal states toward the continental shelf. Now again, for revising the whole thing, 12 nautical miles territorial sea, then again 12 nautical miles contiguous zone, 200 nautical miles exclusive economic zone, water column, this is part of water, seabed and subsoil, then continental shelf, seabed, subsoil, and sedentary species. The state has the exclusive right to exploit all these things. After this, the area is called the high sea. After this zone, exclusive economic zone, the sea area is called high sea, and this high sea. Every country, every ship has right to explore in this high sea. Nobody regulate this high sea. This is continental shelf. This we have not discussed it, but this is continental slope. At times somebody asked this also. This slope is called continental slope. All right. So certain important cases that we have to study in this chapter. Two we have already discussed. The Corfu Channel case. One more thing. The Corfu Channel case, which I had discussed in the first video, that case was the first case of International Court of Justice. This is a very important and important thing to remember. The Corfu Channel case is the first case of International Court of Justice. Then next case that the second case which we had discussed in the first video was continental North Sea continental shelf case. So this this case was regarding the confusion over continental shelf between uh, two countries, and in this case the principle of equity was preferred over the principle of equidistance. Also in Tunisia versus Libya case, this principle of equity was upheld. I mean that North Sea continental case was upheld in Tunisia and Libya Tunisia versus Libya case. What is principle of equity and what is principle of equidistance? You should also study. Just let me tell you, the principle of equity means we have to decide the exclusive economic zone or territorial sea according to the facts and circumstances of each case and justifying our decisions. I mean, we have to balance pros and cons in favor of both the countries. This is called principle of equity. The principle of equidistance is only looking at the fact and deciding the matter. For example, if two countries are 200 nautical miles away, then 100 nautical miles will be given to one country and 100 nautical miles will be given to one country for exclusive economic zone. For exclusive economic zone. For example, see, this is one country, this is another country. The distance between these two countries are 200 nautical miles. So, as per the equidistance principle, the midpoint will be chosen as dividing line. All right, 100 nautical miles in this favor of this country, 100 nautical miles in favor of this country. This will be equidistance principle, equal distance. Now, as per the principle of equity, it will be seen that which country has been exercising right over the ocean in the from long back, and many other factors. It's which country has requires more right over this ocean, which country should be given more right, and all those historical factors has to be taken into account, and according to the equity, the judgment should be given. So this principle of equity was held in North Sea continental shelf case and upheld in Tunisia versus Libya case. Now these are this chart may be used for revision. You may use this chart for revision, for quick recap of all the things we have studied in this chapter. Thank you. This the course of this chapter is completed. PIL has been, this was the last chapter of PIL. Now we have completed the course of PIL. Thank you.